All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. Now, the thesis for this lesson is found in Acts 7:37. This is that Moses, which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear. Notice it says him. This is Moses that was saying this. There's another prophet like unto me, but him shall you hear. So we're taking that, like unto me, him shall you hear, as our thesis. And so let's review from last week, and we saw where, and Joseph died, and all that brethren, all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now, Pastor Bass was preaching last Sunday about trials and things that come into our lives, like the thorns. And here's a good reason why. When Jesus died and all that brethren, all that generation, we're about one generation away from people going bad. You know, if you don't teach your children, that's what will happen. And we can see that here. They were fruitful and multiplied. And look what it says in another place. This is found in, we're dealing with the world. Once you get into the world, this is what happens. If God gives you prosperity, here's what the danger with it. In Deuteronomy 32:15, but Jeshurun, that's another name for Israel, waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. That's riches. Then he forsook God, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. This is what can happen. Not all of us can handle riches. If God gives you riches, it's so easy for us to just start thinking that we don't need God anymore. But notice this, the generation to gyrate or move in a circle. And this is what I'm looking at here. And I remember last week we looked at the house that God gave to the women, the midwives, and I think it's got to do with this. And in the Bible you'll find the term third and fourth generation. It's like shortly thereafter, you get. Somebody has said it takes about 300 years for a nation to go through a cycle, and it becomes wicked, and we're about there now. You know, the United States has been greatly blessed, but we can see how we're getting wicked, very wicked. And so, will the circle be unbroken? This is a hymn written by Ada Habershon way back in 1907, and what that means is, will your children make it? I was talking to my sisters, and they were saying, "Will mom and dad be there?" I says, "I don't know. That's the thing. For us, when we get to heaven, we're gonna find that a lot of our family didn't make it." And I says, and that would be a sad thing, and we're gonna cry, and God will wipe away our tears. I says, but if you have a house that God has given you, a family circle that are all going to make it, I says, that's wonderful. But, here's something that God told Jeremiah in 35:2. Go unto the house of the Rechabites and speak unto them and bring them into the house of the Lord, into one of the chambers, and give them wine to drink. Now what happened, their great-great-grandfather had told them, never drink wine. It messes you up. It messes your judgment. Don't ever drink wine. And the family kept that saying. The family kept it. Because look, Jeremiah does that. Then I took Jezaniah, the son of Jeremiah, the son of Habsaniah, and his brethren, and all his sons, and the whole house of the Rechabites. This is up until about third generation people of this house of the Rechabites. He brought them in And he offered them wine, and they said, we ain't drinking wine, because we know what our grandpa said, our great-great-grandpa. And so they obeyed the voice of their great-great-grandpa, which was already deceased. And God points this out. He says, look at them, because the sons of Jonadab, the son of Rashab, have performed the commandment of their father, which he commanded them, but this people has not hearkened unto me. He says, they obeyed but they don't obey me. You people don't obey me. And this is what this shows us, that we go bad pretty fast. But look what it says here. And this is we're still doing a review. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And that is what I believe this means. He made them houses. That means generations later, because they fear God, they're going to be blessed. Their children are going to enter heaven as well. And charged Pharaoh. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. We saw that. So because the midwives feared God, he made him houses. And I believe this is, God did this. He blesses you. And it follows, there's some kind of principle into the third and fourth generation. It just trickles down. If you're a godly person and you do, and you can see that in history, most pastors have a family that just trickles on into generations. You know, like the Wesleys. If you follow the Wesleys, out of the Wesleys came presidents, lawyers, all kinds of doctors, and all kinds of useful people for their generation. But then if you follow murderers and thieves, what you wind up having is more of that, you know. So there's some to that principle. He made them houses. Every son that is, and then Pharaoh says, every son that is born shall be cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save. Now throw them out, the boys. The boys are the ones that have the seed, so we can cut that off. Cut the progression of that going on, because they have been told there's going to be a baby born, but they didn't know when. The devil didn't know when. One day, and so he's going to want to cut off that baby. But notice something here. The Nile River, which is in Egypt, was the life-giving source. They rely upon the Nile River. This is why Egypt is such a beautiful picture of the world. The world tells you can make it on your own by pulling your own bootstraps. You can make it on your own. You don't need God. If you get a good education, you got all the right things, you can make it on your own. But that, folks, is not true. Look at this. The difference between Canaan and Egypt. Canaan, the land that God gave his people, is a mountainous terrain. It relies on the rain from heaven. Because water doesn't move uphill, it moves downhill. Egypt, on the other hand, Egypt is a flat land. It relies on the river. The river, they can make a living off the river. And so, in fact, there's a place in the Bible where it says you can irrigate the land with your foot by kicking down, man-made dams. And I've seen that. I see, like in Idaho, I think in Idaho, the way they water, and we lived in Idaho, in Nampa, Idaho, and the way they watered the yards in this neighborhood, there was like a canal that ran through the neighborhood, a small canal, and when it was your turn, all you had to do was open the floodgate, and it would flood your yard. The whole water would come in and flood your yard, and you just close it. So, but you could do that with your feet too, open up the floodgates. And that's what can happen. But if you live up in Canaan, you got to pray to God for the rain that comes from heaven. You don't have to in Egypt. In Egypt, you can. So that's what that means. And God constantly throughout the Bible says, I don't want my people living in Egypt. And now what hast thou to do in the way of Egypt to drink the waters of Sihor? Sihor means dark, and that's the Nile. Says, I don't want you to go down there drinking those waters. to forsake me, the fountain of living waters. Okay, so God is going to prepare, during this time of bondage, God is going to prepare a baby. A baby is going to come, and he always does that. God sends special babies into the world. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. This is going to be in the next chapter. We're going to see this. We're in chapter 2 right now, so this is coming up pretty fast. I have seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and I have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. So 40 years later is going to go by really quick. This baby's going to grow up really quick, folks. From the time here that we're looking at, God is sending a baby. Now, this is amazing. And there went now look at this. The Bible, I'm amazed at it. It's like finding great spoil. Now, because the Bible is filled with stories in the Old Testament, and you know the story. You know, everybody's pretty much familiar with this story. It's an amazing little story found in the Old Testament about Moses. But yet there's principles and things that are in there that we need to ferret out, as it were, and then apply them to our lives. There's nuggets of gold in them there hills, folks. Excellent. And the woman now look at this. And there went a man of the house of Levi. Notice what it says, house. We already looked at what house means. Of the house of Levi, and took a wife, a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. I mean, the story moves along really fast. Look at that. 2 sentences, and you have all this. A man marrying, the woman having a baby, bam, 3 months already. You know, the Bible moves along that fast. So a house, a family circle, we already see how that generates on down the hill, on up the hill, or down history, whatever you want to say. Now it says, Levi means joined, attached. And you want to say, you're asking, to what? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because look, the Bible explains. What's it joined to? Well, the Bible tells us. Look at this. Genesis, which we studied last year, 29:34, it says, and she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. So this is Leah. Leah's talking. He says, my husband, because remember, Jacob didn't really love Leah. He loved Rachel. So Leah was like, I got you by a trick. You know, I really didn't want you. I wanted Rachel, your sister. So Leah was always in the background saying, come on, I'm the one that's having all the babies. Rachel can't have any babies. And so Leah is a picture of the Spirit. That's what that means. Rachel is a picture of the flesh. We saw that. The flesh is barren. The flesh cannot have babies, but the Spirit is fruitful. So this is what Levi is attached to the Spirit. And if you're attached, now watch this, folks. It's amazing. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, him shalt thou serve, and him shalt thou cleave, and to him shalt thou cleave, and swear by his name. So God wants that for us, to be attached to God. And this is Levi. Levi is like that. And it came to pass. Now this is concerned. Let's look a little bit at what Levi, who he is. Let's look at his character. And it came to pass on the 3rd day when they were sore that the two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. Wow. Jacob says, you have made me to stink in the land. Because they went in there while these guys, the whole village was sore because they had just been circumcised and they couldn't really fight. And these 2 guys come in there with a sword and massacre the entire village. And he says, these guys are wicked. They're evil. And Jacob says, yeah, you boys are evil. But God is showing you another story behind the story. You know? Now look at this. It says here, they were Dinah's brethren. Huh? And you look at that, affinity or resemblance. To who? To Dinah. Well, who's Dinah? Well, look at the meaning. Dinah means justice. That's what. Now, what happened to Dinah? She was raped by Shechem, a man of that village. A prince of the village raped her, and then he fell in love with her. But it's too late. The deed was done. And these two boys, they says, we're going to kill the entire village because of that. Wow. It says, look at this. To be cruel, this kind of cruel, because twice it is said that their wrath was cruel, devoid of human feelings. That's why they went there and massacred the entire village. They were a bloody... Now, Simeon means to hearing. Levi is attached to the hearing. Hearing what? What God says. So, get this, folks. Well, let's go on. A man of Levi. This is the man we're talking about. He's from that house. This house that are strict. They go by the law. And look what he does. He took a daughter of Levi. This is a double whammy. Not only do you have the father that's of Levi, you have the mother that's of Levi too. These two get married and they have a baby. What do you think the baby's going to be like? They bear a son, very special baby. And now, we're told he was a goodly child. Now, in the Bible, you'll find that Manoah, his wife Manoah, was warned. An angel came and told her, you're going to have a baby. You know, when she was in the field. And later on, we're told that Hannah was told, you're going to have a baby. And then later we're told about Zechariah. Zechariah was in the temple when an angel told him, you're going to have a child. And even Mary. So I suspect that she was warned as well. She was told, I think her name is given to us later on, Jochebed. I think she was warned, or not warned, but told, you're going to have a baby, a very special baby. Because she hid him. Because she hid him. She hid him for 3 months. This baby. Now, who is this baby? Well, let's look at a little bit. The Bible tells us, look at this. This is an amazing thing that the Bible tells us about this baby. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. And his eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. What does that mean? It means he never lost his strength. He never needed glasses like me. Never. His eyesight was perfect, and so was his strength. You don't want to tackle Moses when he's 120 because he'll clobber you. You know, he's like the law. A stop sign, you can put a brand new stop sign, folks, at an intersection, and what will happen, that sign you can come back later, 80 years later, and it can be tore up, mangled, run over, shot over. I mean, the whole thing. And yet you think that, oh, well, I don't have to obey it now. No, don't do that. Because chances are you're going to be even charged more because time has passed. And the law never gets weak. Moses never gets weak. The law is always strong. And you don't want to go up against the law because the wrath of the law is cruel. We've already seen that. This is the house of Levi. Keep that in mind. Now let's proceed. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done with him. So it's put in a box. It is interesting because there's several arks in the Bible. It's like a coffin. And it's made waterproof. Pitch, just like the Ark of Noah is waterproof. The Nile will not touch him. By the river's brink. And I'm looking at that. He was never put in the water. The water did not touch him, folks. I'm saying, I wonder if it says by the river's bank. I wonder if the basket was ever even put into the water. I don't know. There's so much in the Word of God, when you read it, you got to study and meditate. So what does that mean? And folks, we're still just going through a survey, because if we came back, we'd find more. And look what it says. And his sister stood afar off. Not too near. Don't get near. Stand up. Stand. And what this tells me, folks, the law of God needs isolation. You do not want to be in the same room with the Word of God, with the law of God. because the law of God is blind. The law of God, it'll kill you. And in this case, it's the opposite. In the case of Noah, in the flood, Noah goes into the coffin to protect him from the law of God, from the judgment that is coming to this world. When the judgment falls, when the judgment of God falls, it's not a respecter of persons. It doesn't care who you are. And the Bible says we're all guilty before the law of God. We all deserve death. So when the law shows up, you might as well be dead already, because it's going to kill you. So this is why it's always good to get into a coffin, get into the ark. In this case, it's the opposite. They're putting this little baby. She's been hiding him, and now she's going to expose him to the world. But this baby is going to be hid. Watch this. Follow this. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And her maidens walked along the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child. And behold, the babe wept and had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." The Hebrews' children. The daughter of Pharaoh, I believe, is the world. Pharaoh is the prince of the power of the air. He's a picture of the prince of the power of the air, I believe. And look what happened. Several commentators said that this was a ritual washing. She came to the river. But we used to sing a song when I was working with the children, and we would say, "You can't go to heaven in a washing machine. You can't go to heaven in a washing machine. You can't go to heaven in a washing machine, because the washing machine can't make you clean." You know? So there's only one thing that can make us clean. It ain't no washing machine. And so this river is the same thing. It cannot wash you clean. And this is where the world goes to make themselves clean. You know, this thing in the world. And look at this. It's all about her. She saw, she sent, she had opened the box. She saw the child. She had compassion. And I believe this is God. God does all this. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of blood, he turneth it wherever he will. Okay? So this baby, folks, is about to show us the character of God. When he comes down, the law is how holy God is. That's what the law is. The law tells us we come short of the holiness of God. We fall short. And so this baby is being released to the world to show us how evil we are. And when this baby comes back, right now he's a baby, but this is what's going to happen. And then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. It's an amazing story how God switched this event, to where the mom now gets to nurse her own child and get paid for it. God has a sense of humor. It's amazing. I think God, when you read the stories of God in the Bible, it's amazing what he does. You know? Notice Pharaoh's daughter. We're dealing with Pharaoh's daughter. And it's all about the world. This is what we're dealing with right now. And she said, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages." And the woman took the child and nursed it, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, "Because I drew him out of the water." And I thought, no, she didn't. Drew him out of a box, but not out of the water. And I think what this means, folks, the world says it's mine. I'll pay you for him. I'll pay you for you to take care of him. He's going to be my son. He's going to be mine. And therefore, I'm going to call him Moses, because he's mine. And I think what this says is that the law is man-made. The world thinks that the law belongs to them, and it's not, folks. Moses, or the law, is spiritual. We're going to see that. The law is spiritual. I drew him out of the water. Really? The law is of the world. Not. And I'll show you why. Look at this. I got this quote up for this source. David P. Wright argues that the covenant code of the biblical book of Exodus is directly, primarily, and throughout based upon the laws of Hammurabi. Really? Is that true? Well, go to the legislative section of our government, which is the capital in Washington, D.C., where they make the laws for our country, for our nation. And you'll find in the House of Representatives, look at this. Look at this right here. See these little plaques? All around, all around, all around. Each one of those is a sculpture, a bas-relief. It's not totally in the ground, but it's a bas-relief of a lawgiver. Great lawgivers found throughout history in our world. They're all in there in the House of the legislative branch of our government. And look what this is saying. This is the layout. Okay? Hammurabi is down here, but look who's next to him. Moses. Now, it's interesting when you see the sculptures, and I've seen them, they're like this. Notice they're all looking sideways until they get to Moses. On the other side, they're all looking sideways until they get to Moses. Hammurabi is right there. He looks at Moses. Whoever put this thing up there, I tell you, the whole Washington, D.C., it's an evil city. But it was founded and laid out. Look at that. Moses is the principle. The law was given to Moses from God. So he doesn't follow anybody. Everybody follows Moses. So the laws do not belong to the world. That's what I wanted to point this out. So let us see what the law, look at some of the things of the law. What the Bible talks about the law as being, the law is light. By the law is the knowledge of sin. The law is holy. The law is spiritual. The law is not of faith. The law is good. The law is not made for a righteous man. Okay, so now we know what the law is. So let's proceed with the story. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out unto his brethren, and he looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren, and he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Interesting. Moses was grown. That's 40 years. He's 40 years old at this point. See how time passed by really quick. 40 years is a symbol of, we find the number 40 in judgment or testing, but mostly judgment. The 40 days of rain, and we had the flood. 40 days in the wilderness because the people disobeyed and they were rebellious. As God says, okay, you're going to die in the wilderness. 40 days, 40 years is so. 40 years is in, 40 years is in, it's a sign of judgment. He went out unto his brethren and he looked on his burdens. Interesting, approved, that looked like to find approval. And a burden says work. This is Moses looking upon his brethren. And look what it says. Okay, now we're told in Hebrews 11:24, by faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He's not of the world. Moses is not of the world. And so it says, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And you're going to say, Moses says, that's my people. Because I'm a Hebrew too. That's my people. So I'm going to take care of this, you know. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian. because he was a brethren. We see twice, we're told, that was his people. When you think that, you're wrong, because that's not why he slew the Egyptian. Look what it says here. Was he careless? Because it says when he looked around and see if nobody was looking. That's not what that means. Because look at those words here. These are in italic. That's why the Bible, our Bible, the King James, no other Bible is like our Bible. Because our Bible has italicized words in it. And it's for you to pay attention to those words. They're there to make sense of the story one way, but they're there that if you take them out, it talks to you about other things. There was no man. He saw no man. That's what that means. He saw nobody. Why is that? He saw no man. Because the law is blind. He didn't smite them because they were Hebrews, because he was an Egyptian. He smote. I think he was killing the Hebrew. He was killing them. And so the law went over there and smacked him, killed him. Because look at the next portion. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. Now it's 2 Hebrews. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? And tendest thou to kill me, as thou killest the Egyptian? These are Hebrews. These are brethren. Now they're fighting, not Hebrew and Egyptian. These are now 2 Hebrews. And look what he says. He said to him that did the wrong, because the law is like this. It's a Levite. It says, why are you smiting thy fellow? And then we're told, who made thee a prince and a judge? They don't want to be judged by the law. And he says, do you intend to kill me like you killed the Egyptian? And he says, well, he would have said, no, I don't, because I'm brethren. But really, yes, there's no difference. The law is not a respecter of persons. It kills everybody. I mean, when the flood came, you need to be inside the ark, because otherwise you're going to die. It don't matter who you are. If you're a grandma, a 90-year-old grandma, you're going to die. If you're a good person, you're going to die unless you're inside the ark. The law is not a respecter of persons. Look what it says in Romans 3:19. Now we know that what things soever the law says, it says to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped and all the world may become guilty before God. Everybody's guilty. Before the law, everybody's guilty. And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh. You think, what? I thought, there's verses in the Bible, when you read them, they don't make sense. Why would Moses run away from Pharaoh? He's powerful. He's 40 years old. He's at his prime. Why is he doing this? And now you find the same thing with Elijah. When Elijah fled from Jezebel, that wicked woman. He says, why? Elijah, stay and fight. You know, when I read that for the first time, I said, why are you fighting? Why are you running, Elijah? And it's the same thing. There's another reason. There's another story underneath it. That's why. God goes with the story. And look at this. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. This is why he had to run away. Because if the law stays there, he'll kill everybody. But in this case, in the story, Moses had to leave. We're told that he got ahead of God, and so God's going to give him 40 years of training in the desert. But we're looking at this story from the point of view of the law. He fled. Look where he goes, to Midian. And almost all things, this is what Hebrews 9:22 says, and almost all things are by the blood purged with blood. And without shedding of blood, there's no remission. They're in bondage, and there's no cancellation of the debt or sin. You cannot, without the blood, you can't do it. So without death, sin requires death. And Moses, he leaves. He's going to come back later on. Look when he comes back. When he comes back, he doesn't come back as Moses by himself. Look what he brings somebody with him. And he shall be thy spokesman unto the people, and even he shall be to thee instead of a mouth, and thou shalt be it to him instead of a God. Who's he speaking about? Aaron. Aaron, his brother, is going to come back, and he's going to be leading the charge. But Aaron is going to be doing exactly what Moses tells him to do. What Moses says, Aaron will do, because Moses is going to be a God to Aaron. And who is Aaron? Aaron is a priest. He's a forerunner of Jesus, who is the ultimate priest. So he's going to come back. And look what it says. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth, not one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Who can fulfill that? Aaron is going to say exactly what the law says. That's what Aaron's going to do. And that's what Jesus did. He did exactly what the law required. God himself will meet the requirement through his blood, his own blood. It says, for verily I say unto you that till heaven and earth, not one jot or one tittle shall pass in no wise from the law till all be fulfilled. He's going to fulfill it. Now we're running out of time. Let's just do a couple more here really quick. There's so many good things here. We're not going to be able to cover them. And dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. This is Moses, when he fled. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. That God gives you so much information in just a little piece. So he dwelt in the land of Midian. And notice there's this punctuation here, this colon. This is a complete sentence. And Moses dwelt in the land of Midian. And you can stop there. But that means there's more to follow. There's an explanation to follow. He came to live there. And it says, and then he repeats it. And he sat down. Midian means strife. And he sat down by a well. Interesting. What does that mean? He sat down by a well. And you'll find that throughout the Bible. All these. Abraham lived by a well. Isaac lived by a well. Jacob lived by a well. And they're always fighting about the wells. You know, of course, you'll say, well, that's a dry desert place. You need water to live. But there's more to that. He lived by a well. He stayed there. Notice it twice we're told the same thing. He dwelt, he sat down. That's the same thing. The well. What's by the well? The law. The law is there. And notice now there's 7 girls coming. And all of a sudden it hits you, that's a lot of girls. What are they doing? Bottling the stuff? You know? They're coming for a lot of water. That's a lot of water. 7 girls, they're coming to draw water. Now, here's an insight, folks. The priest had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water. We're told. That's just that simple. Now, in the New Testament, we're told about another girl, a woman. And the woman says unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. And now she's talking to Jesus. And Jesus says, go call your husband. And she says, I have no husband. She says, you have rightly said so, because you have had 5 husbands. Now, folks, she had 5 husbands. Evidently, she wasn't satisfied with one husband. One of them couldn't do it. The second one couldn't do it either. 4, 5. I mean, she had gone through all of these guys. She was living with another guy now. What this tells us, look at this, folks. The law does not satisfy. Because the 5 husbands, you know who their names were? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And that's the law. It cannot satisfy you. The law will never satisfy you. If you want to keep the law, it will never do it. It can't. The way the Lord designed this thing, the law is strict, and it doesn't care how good you are. It'll kill you unless you're perfect. You can't pacify it. So here's this 7 girls drawing all this water, and it'll never be enough water. And we're going to have to stop there. It's too bad, but we'll have to continue next time. So maybe you'll have to come. Okay, let us pray. Lord God, thank you for your wonderful word, O Lord, and for the things you teach us thereof. We give you all the praise, glory, and the honor, and we love you, Lord. In your name, Jesus Christ, we pray and give you all the praise, glory, and the honor. Amen. Amen.